do me a favor, just explain real fast what rent control is and what happened this past year, which is actually how you and me met, and then what could be on the kind of frontier for that.
Yeah, so the simplest way to explain rent control, it's when the government, whether that's a local government, state government, basically they put a cap or a ceiling on what a landlord can charge for rent. So it's basically the government coming into a landlord and saying, you can't charge any more than this ceiling. And the reason behind it, it's well-intentioned. It's, you know, it's basically saying, hey, we've got to protect affordable housing. People can't afford places to rent anymore. That's the reason that they say, oh, we should cap rents. The problem is what ends up happening, we've seen this play out in California, New York, where they have rent control. And then we did a study in Chicago. What ends up happening is when you cap rent, you end up with less inventory or less units in the market, because a lot of the units convert to condos, and then a lot less investment flows in, creating more inventory. And if you all remember from your real estate classes, you know, your pre-license, when we talk about market conditions, what happens when there's less inventory? Prices go up, right? And so rent control actually has been proven. There was a US government study that was done in San Francisco that showed that with rent control, it caused prices to spike for renters. So anyway, that's what rent control is. In Illinois, there's actually a state ban on any rent control. So back in the 90s, I think it was, I should know the exact year, but back in the 90s, the Illinois Realtors led the charge to actually pass a law that said local governments cannot do rent control for all of those market conditions. But now, in the last 2 to 3 years, there's been a growing movement of tenants' rights organizations that have been pushing, they call it the Lift the Ban Coalition. So they want to lift the ban. They believe that once the ban is lifted, then Chicago, which I think they're right, I think Chicago would institute rent control. And then you'd see other municipalities around the state and create this patchwork, kind of like California, where different local governments institute different rent control measures.
You think if something like that passed, you think the city would change that something? As the world sits right now, do you think Chicago would move to pass something like that pretty quick?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
The shortest answer I can give you.
You sound pretty confident. Now,